McNair gives it to George, running right up the middle. Touchdown! Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle!
Safety, now you're one-on-one with the...
Shows why he's the man! In trouble. Sack!
Ladies and gentlemen, Titan Nation, welcome back. Today, I have a guest who was a former Longhorn, former Titan safety, two-time Pro Bowler. We have Michael Griffin. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm just hanging in here, man. Like I said, it's an honor to have you. It's cool to have a show where I can have people that I've watched, players that I've watched, big fan, and then I get to talk to them about their careers and a couple of their plays or even games that they played in the past. It's always an honor. So again, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Oh, no problem.
This is the third Longhorn I got. I got Bo Scaife. I had Brian Arakpo. I got you Longhorns, man. You guys make a big impact in the NFL and throughout your careers, man.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of rough because right now the Longhorns ain't doing so well, so it might not be too many in the NFL come here soon. I know Kenny Vaccaro is I know he's still working out and trying to get back in there, but outside of that, I think you got Quandre Diggs and Jordan Hicks, and, we're kind of scarce around that thing. So, yeah, it's getting a little rough for us right now.
Definitely after the game too, man. That was. Were you at that game by any chance or no?
Man, I work for Longhorn Network, so I do a pregame show and a postgame show, and so it was tough. It was rough. It was a rough situation right there. It's very rough.
I know. Brian Arakpo and Vince Young were at the game and stuff like that. And I know my sister was supposed to go to the fair, but you never want to go to the fair, especially when that game's happening, man. It's like you'll never get out of the fair, bro. You'll never get out.
And it's crazy. Like, I have never went to the game outside of being a player. And we had a meeting today, and they were talking about, like, we got Chris Beard as our new head coach for the basketball team who left Texas Tech.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I when I was at Texas and even afterwards, I never went to any of the other sporting events. I never went.
Really?
I never went to a basketball game, but maybe because at the time, PJ Tucker was there, who just won the NBA championship. But you look at it, TJ Ford was before I got there. Kevin Durant was after I left. But I've never went to a game before, so it was kind of like, it was weird. Like, and even when I played in the National Football League, I never went to a Texas game. And I probably never would have went to a game unless I started working for Longhorn Network. So it's just different. I've always been a little different than everybody else.
Definitely. Have you actually gone to a NFL game ever since, or no?
I went 2 years ago. I went to the Houston Texans versus Titans.
Okay.
And then prior to that, I went to the Rams, and the Rams versus when Todd Gurley had that crazy game when the Rams played the Titans. But before that, nah.
No, does it feel weird for you watching that? Because I know Gerald, like we were talking about, Gerald McGrath, last year when we went, he said, like you were saying, like that whole experience on a tailgate from like a player perspective is a lot different. Like he said, he played the game. He's never gone to a game and did the whole 9 yards, the whole tailgating. So that whole experience was new to him, and he enjoyed it, but it was also he felt weird. He felt weird about it. And
not that I feel weird, and it's just I got stuff to do. It's just I got stuff to do. Like, I got 3 kids, and all 3 of my kids play sports. Last night, you asked me could we do a show yesterday, and I was like, can't do it. I drive to Dallas every Tuesday to go watch my son play, which is about a few people is Nashville. It's like pretty much going from Nashville to Memphis and back.
Okay.
So I always do a round trip every
Nice.
Tuesday to watch my son play. I never miss
Nice.
I never miss none of his games. He's in middle school, so
Nice.
every Tuesday I leave here. Games at 7. So
Mhm.
yesterday I left here because my daughter had a parent-teacher conference, my youngest one, at
Okay.
2:00. After that, 2:30, I jumped on the road, got to his game. I'm his like photographer. So if anybody ever watches, sees his pictures and stuff, that's me taking all the pictures at all his games.
Hey, kudos to you, man, because I see them. They look
So
nice. They look nice.
yeah, so that's what I do. I mean, that's my life is like being my kid's number one fan. You know,
Absolutely.
my youngest daughter, she's playing soccer now. And my oldest daughter just got back from Florida at a soccer tournament. She's 11. She's on, I think their team is ranked 13th in the country, I believe. They haven't lost a game yet. But that's my life. I mean, just like taking time for myself to go do things that I want to go do.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just don't really have the time for myself. Like my time now is giving back and being my kid's number one supporter.
Definitely. Do you feel like again, NFL taking so much of your time and stuff, did you think that took a lot of time from your family as well? Did you see them as much when you were playing and stuff? Like, how did that work? Again,
Man, you know what? I tell people all the time. Like
mm-hmm.
I even tell my neighbors. I tell people at I go to the gym, public
Mm-hmm.
gym and stuff. And I've met a lot of people since I've been out to NFL. And I tell people like when I played, I was like in this bubble. Uh,
Wow.
I only associated with people that understood and knew what I was going through. You know, your friends was your teammates, but it changed every year due to roster changes and things of that nature. So uh, that was my life. My life was football, 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 football. You had the mental state of it. You had to be able to like block a lot of things out. You had to be numb to a lot of things. You playing a tough game, rough game in social media. You got to be numb to that stuff. You got to just like you even though you know it bothers you, but you can't allow it to bother you because you got to be able to move forward and keep it moving. So I mean, things that I've dealt with when I was playing and things that people didn't know about, I mean, you just kept it to yourself and kept it rolling because at the same time you realized you was blessed to be able to play this game. So did I saw my family? Yeah, but was I the father that I could be? That I feel like my youngest now, who's 4, she's got the best end of the deal.
The deal. Okay.
Um, Unfortunately, she wasn't there to see me play,
Mm-hmm.
and so as she's growing up, it doesn't me being the former player doesn't resonate to her. She's still young, but she doesn't get it. But my 2 oldest, my 13 and my 11-year-old, they get it. They've been there. They've seen it. They sat in the stadiums. They seen the injuries. They seen everything that came along with it. Not seeing you in the morning, maybe see you for an hour in the evening. They seen that. But the youngest one, she gets.
Gotcha.
I mean, I get to take her to school, get to pick her up,
Mm-hmm.
take her to gymnastics, soccer. Like she gets that. She gets to have all of that. So my son, I missed a lot of sporting events
Mm-hmm.
because I was playing. But now that he's playing, it's like, hey, I'm not going to miss a game. So, the 500-mile round trip, leave here at 2:30, get home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But then you get right up to take the baby girl to school just to. So that's my life now. That's why I say like you go watch. Nah, I'm busy. I'm occupied. So but yeah, there's a lot of things that people don't really understand that all these athletes are going through. No matter what sport it is, just the things that they go through.
Exactly. I mean, that's something to put in perspective and stuff like that. It's like that sacrifice. I mean, it's not only your body, but your mind and your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all that goes into that. And like you said, a lot of people don't, I think, put that in account. They don't realize that. They only see the football aspect of the game, and that's it. And it's
Yeah,
not
I mean
like,
it's crazy because I mean I see it all the time. It's funny. I guess it's funny because I go to a public gym and you walk around and you see people who are like, you know, they're working out and they do a set and they're tired, or I'm not feeling it today, and I'm like, dude, I had a job where I had to do this every day. Like, but this is after you playing a whole football game, your body feel like you went through a train wreck, and then you see people that's like, the ones like trying to get back in shape and all that. And it's like funny because you see the young crowd that's 22, 23 that's out of shape, and you're like, how old are you? You look like you can still work. You still, do condition everything. I was like, I'm 36, and they're like, oh. I'm like, how old are you? I'm 25, 26. Oh, wow. Good luck. Like when you get, because when you get older, it's a lot harder. But
it's a lot harder, huh?
But it's just you see people that has a lot of opinions about professional athletes, and I get it. It comes with the territory because that's what pays our bills. That's what we get paid for. It's really the people's opinions, because your opinion is you being a fan of whatever team that you like. And those are what those are the ones that are going to come to your game, and those are the ones that's going to pay, and those are the ones that win, lose, or draw. That's how they're going to feel for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
So I get it. I totally understand it. But at the same time, you got to have thick skin. You got to be mentally prepared for it, because this day and age is crazy, especially with
social media blowing up.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started when I first came in the league. I remember initially it was Facebook, and then you had like MySpace, people that are older. But then it kind of transitioned to Twitter, and then from Twitter it went to Instagram, and then Snapchat, and it just keeps evolving, and things just keep going. So yeah, it's crazy now. But then YouTube, I mean, everything is just blowing up. So it all comes with the territory, but you still have opportunity to use it as a platform when you get out of the game of football to continue to promote yourself and to continue to stay relevant. So there's different ways that you can use it in a positive, but also it could be negative. So it can go a lot of different routes.
Definitely, 100%. But like you said, I think what you're doing after football, obviously we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later, but again, it is excellent. Let's talk a little bit about, playing. You were born in Austin, right?
Yeah.
And was that your number one like school to go to? Like, I mean, again, I'm not from Texas. I live in Dallas, but again, so I don't know how. I understand when I moved here, football in Texas is serious. It's a big deal. Now, probably going to UT is another big deal. It's probably another. Was there anyone in your family that went to UT? I mean, you had.
No, it's. I mean, it's a crazy. But I got like my story is not like I didn't have no rough upbringing or anything of that nature. So I was blessed. Mother, father, married for 40-some plus years, both in the military. Twin brother. We lived a great life. The one thing that my mom, because where my mom and my dad came from, low income, poor and things, they instilled things in us. And it was like, for me, grades and stuff, I couldn't bring home no less than a B. It was A's and B's. And, honor society and everything was like big in my household. Taking college courses and stuff in high school, all that stuff was things that we did. I worked my first job when I was 10 years old. I played soccer, but also was refereeing soccer games.
Okay.
So for me, it was like, I grew up with the mindset and culturally background of like working, like, no handouts. And there's a difference between I want and I need. And, I worked refereeing a soccer game. So I was about 15. I was playing, I broke my ankle my sophomore year, and there's a possibility I'll never play again. And broke pretty much the same injury that Dak Prescott had. I had that at 15 years old. So when I seen it, I was like, been there, done that. Mm-hmm. But I went through that, and it's funny because the doctor I had surgery is still my primary doctor today. So we always talk about that. Yeah, he's Dr. Cox. So we always laugh and joke. And he tells people like, I resurrected his career. Like it was all me. Yeah, from there at 15, I started working at Target. And when I went to college, I was working at Finish Line. I had a full scholarship, but I was also working at Finish Line. And so, it was like always a hustle. Not a hustle like in a negative way, but it was always a hustle on like you got to stay ahead of the game at all times. You always got to be prepared for anything that may happen. So by the time I got drafted, I had like $30,000-$40,000 in the bank. Like
Oh,
I wasn't one of those players that came out and was like, asking agents for
yeah.
nothing. I didn't have to ask an agent for anything. I already had what I needed.
Oh, wow.
And so that was my life. And then my brother on the same side, he had academic scholarships, and then he was a preferred walk-on at University of Texas, who ended up earning a scholarship. But football wasn't sports was like something that just kept us out of trouble, kept us occupied. We lived in Austin, but both my parents worked in San Antonio, so it's about 80 miles away, so about 160-mile round trip. And so at 5th grade, me and my brother and my mom would call us on the phone, wake us up, but we got dressed, went to school, came home, was ready to go to practice. We pretty much was very, very independent at a young age. So just taking care of business was just something that, again, that was us.
Natural.
And so like cleaning the house and all that, like it's crazy. Because my kids, I don't know, I blame myself, but, cleaning the house, washing dishes, doing all, my mom, my dad, our laundry, folding it up, putting it up, cleaning bathrooms, we did all that stuff. Mowing the lawn before we had to go to our games on Saturday. That was our life. Like we didn't really have anything outside of each other. And that, because we were just so occupied with sports. So when it came to me getting scholarships, like it was weird because I was like, okay, wow, these coaches, like I played football, but I didn't think I was like the best player or anything. I was just playing. Like my dream wasn't to be an NFL football player. People who know me know I love animals, and I always had dogs and things of that nature, and anybody knows my background. So I always wanted to be a veterinarian. That was my goal. That was my dream.
Really?
And football was the last thing on my mind. It was like, I'm playing, but people give me scholarships. So my first offers was coming in, and then A&M, Texas A&M was the big school when it comes to being a veterinarian. So I was ready to go, like committed and everything to go to Texas A&M.
Wow.
And they fired R.C. Slocum. And so I was like, well, I don't know what coach they're bringing in there. So I ended up coming to University of Texas, and I was like, cool, I'll go there and get my to play football because I got a scholarship, but I'm gonna still get a degree and then go back to Texas A&M and become a veterinarian because that was my plan. And so I guess I was just blessed. This football thing just kept going and going and going and going. But I mean, I was always just one of those guys like, you know what, give it all you got, and the chips will fall where they fall. And that's just, that's just what I did. It wasn't, I didn't play the game for anything. It was like, if you're going to do it, give it all you got and don't have any regrets. And so that was my mindset.
Nice. Now, did you ever at one point in your career, like when you were, playing in Texas, did you ever think about, transferring and then going to Texas A&M to
no, it
chase
was
that
no,
degree?
It's loyalty.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing is loyalty. I mean,
I respect that.
It's I don't know if people remember, like I got franchised for the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And you see guys now who get franchised and they go off and they waiting to get the deals and stuff reworked, but people can look it up. When I got franchised, I just told them I'm not going to sign the franchise tender, but is there anything that I can sign that says during this off-season program, if I get hurt, that I'm bonded to the franchise agreement? But I was there for every workout. I never missed a workout. It's loyalty. That was my biggest thing. Like, lay it all out on the line. So, like, people know me, like, that was me. I was there every day in the off season, and I didn't get my contract extension to the last day of OTAs. But I was there every day. I didn't miss not one. I remember my agent was like, we're not going. I said, no, I don't do all that stuff. I don't need no attention. I don't need none of that stuff. Like, see if there's something we can work out. It was Mike Reinfeldt at the time. No, not Mike. It was Rustin at the time. Mm-hmm. And I said, see if there's something that I can sign that says if I do get hurt in the off season, that, I get binded to the franchise agreement. But right now, I just need to I need to be with my team. I don't need to go nowhere else. Like, I need to be with the team. It's not fair for me to, because I'm upset about something personally. That's not about team. So that was me.
Man, If people had your mindset, man, it'd be a whole different world out there, man. Especially
Yeah, I mean, it's but again, it goes from the upbringing,
Yeah, you're right.
It comes from the upbringing. My
Mm-hmm.
mom, my dad, so much respect for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you had your time in Tennessee, when you first got, drafted and elected, and you came to the Tennessee Titans, how was that locker room presence or the organization itself? Because it was a little bit shaky still, right?
If you ever watch that movie Any Given Sunday, I was like, man, they really made this movie off a real locker room.
Really? Al Pacino.
It was. I love Fisher to death. I loved them.
Mm-hmm.
It was like one of those situations like y'all are grown men and y'all know what y'all gotta do to take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Bullock was a great guy, like cool as I don't know what. Cool, like he just knew. One thing he taught me was, hey, you're gonna stop playing against players and coaches. You're gonna play against coaches and where they come from and where they learn their philosophy from. It doesn't matter what team you're playing. You could play the Falcons every year, but if they fire the coach and they bring somebody else in, where'd they coach from? And that was something I learned from Keith Bullock. You had Chris Hope, who won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Nick Harper, who won a Super Bowl. It was a bunch of great. It was crazy. It was just getting used to. It was just different. Because then again, I went to the University of Texas, and I was on a team with everybody from Texas. So it was like, you got there, and it was like, okay, there's different culture. Like, despite we all may look alike or look different or whatever, we all come from different backgrounds and different cultures. So it was different. But I knew that I needed to associate myself with somebody that's either been or going somewhere that I want to be. And so you look at a guy like Chris Hope. I ended up moving 2 houses next door to him just to see how he moves, to see how he operates. I mean, he played 11, 12 years in the league, close to Nick Harper, who played the same amount of time. So it was associating myself, David Thornton. He had Keith Bullock. I had to be around people that played this game for a long time and people that I idolized. That's like, okay, what he's doing, I need to do what he does, because whatever he's doing, there's a reason why he's in the league as long as he's been. There's a reason why he's playing the way he's playing. There's a reason. So that's what I did. That was my mindset. You had to navigate your way through that locker room because you could easily follow different paths. And then, despite, you had to also understand that, there's different tax brackets in that same locker room. People like, why are you and Vince Young and hang out? Well, number 3 overall pick. Your checks are looking a little bit different than my checks. So
absolutely,
you gotta understand those type of things. Because again, it goes back to the difference between I want and I need. And so for me, I needed to be around people that has been successful and I can, pick their brains and figure out how to do those things.
That's almost like, I feel like that's almost like stuff you want to do, like in life too, like a group of friends. You don't want to have the ones that are kind of jealous or something. You want to have those that, inspire you, right?
True. Very true.
Are keep moving. They're not in the same spot they were 2 years ago. You want someone who's always not necessarily hustling, but you kind of do. You want to have that mindset to kind of adapt to what they're doing so that you can improve yourself as well, your well-being. You don't want to have someone who's, again, in the same group of people doing the same thing, like say YouTube, but half of them are jealous, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, and then again, right? It's like, different things work for different people. Some people can go out all night and have a great time and then come to work and function. Some people can go out all night and come to work and can't function. Everybody's different, but you got to figure out and find your path and associate with people that's going to inspire you and that's going to uplift you and want you to see you to succeed. And that's the biggest thing, and that's what I did.
Definitely, 100%. Who was one of the people that you looked up to or wanted to kind of mimic your game? It doesn't even have to be the Tennessee Titans, in football in general.
You know what? When I was playing, you got all the big – everybody was like Sean Taylor fans. And it's funny because some people never even seen him play before. And I remember my first game, Sean Taylor, like him and Fred Smoot, we played the Redskins. They like – I thought it was going to be as easy as special teams was in college, but it wasn't. But but guys like – it was like the under-the-radar guys. You got guys like Anton Pathea. He played for the Colts, everybody gave Bob Sanders all the praise, but if you ever watched him play, you was like um you really loved his game. You saw he played. He played a long time in the league, and every team he played for, he's very successful.
Mm-hmm.
A guy like Nick Collins, who unfortunately career got ended due to a neck injury, but when he was playing with the Packers, I mean, yeah, you had Harris and you had Charles Woodson, but the guy that was like making plays along with them was Nick Collins. So, you know, that's was the guys that I kind of like looked at. Like you would watch games and guys who stuck out to you. You saw the guys who didn't get all the glitz and the glamour, but it was like they was doing the dirty work. Ryan Clark is a good one, you know. He did the dirty work, you know. Troy Polamalu got all the praise, but Ryan Clark did the dirty work. And so those was guys that I was like always watching and seeing what they was doing. Those are the guys that inspire me because to me, they never got the limelight that they probably should have.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys had great careers. If you go back and just look at their numbers and watch the things that they did for their teams.
Why do you think like the other people shine, but yet they're still grinding and doing their number? They're still putting out, you know, like play by play and stuff like that. Why do you think that's the case?
You gotta see if you ever watch the games, you see how they develop for instance, if you watch Troy Polamalu and you understood their defense, which Dick LeBeau came, you would see that Troy was allowed to kind of free roam. But if you knew the defense, the ins and outs,
Mm-hmm.
you would know how to make him right.
Gotcha.
And so if you watch, sometimes there was like we had a lot of calls that was double calls. It'd be quarters or cover three. And Troy Polamalu could start on one side and he can go to the other side. And then you had to know if you was the back, if you was Ryan Clark, you had to know if he went with them, okay, I don't need to do anything. I just knew what he was doing, so I knew how to make him right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you notice Ryan Clark also played with Sean Taylor. And so you start getting you start appreciating these type of players because these are the things you don't really understand. Anton Pathea, you look at what he did, had a great successful time with the Colts, but then you bring over LaRon Landry, and then you go over where he goes to San Francisco, where he plays with Eric Reed, who Eric Reed got a lot of publicity, but who was the guy that was next to him? Then he goes over to Arizona, where you got the Honey Badger and all these other guys. Who was getting all the glory, but who's the guy that you pair him with? Gotcha. So that's why you gotta, you know, people, you got the glitz and the glamour, but sometimes you got a guy that's a freakish athlete and that's a great player, but you gotta have somebody that puts him in the right positions.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and that's the thing that you that's how you appreciate those type of guys. Even look at what Nick Collins was doing when he was playing the safety position. You got guys like Charles Woodson, smart players and everything else, but you got to have somebody else that you trust. And so you see guys getting all the glitz and glamour, but you're like, hey, this guy's making plays. This guy's where he needs to be. This guy's doing what he's supposed to do. So a lot of time, you get an appreciation for those type of players because they go on to play a long career. But then you have to go back and dig deeper and say, what is he doing? He's not the highlight of the team. He's not the main guy, but he's doing something right if he's staying around. And the guys that is the highlight of the team ain't staying around. So, you know, you got to pay a little bit of attention to those type of things.
Definitely. That's always something interesting to find out and stuff, especially like you said, the ones that the highlighting the players, you know, like the announcers, that's what they're talking about is the big names, right? The NFL, the big names and stuff like that in each team. Talking about highlights and stuff, right? Came in the league, 2-time Pro Bowler, 2008 and 2010. Can you explain to me that whole process of, you know, getting to be a first Pro Bowler for your first time? I mean, again, I think you had 75 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 7 interceptions.
It was crazy. I mean, you know, it was team effort. You know, that whole secondary, me, Chris Holt, Cortland Finnegan, we all went. But then again, you got to give credit to those guys that was up front. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
you had Odom, you had Van den Bosch, you had Albert Hainsworth, Tony Brown, guys rotating in like Travis LeBoy. Um, you just had a lot of guys that was doing some great things. Linebacker core, Keith Bullock, David Thornton, Ryan Fowler. I mean, it just credits all guys. Even Vincent Fuller. People don't realize he was a great nickel. Every interception he had went for a touchdown. And so it was just collectively like we just all played really well together. A lot of communication. It was just a great time, just having fun. It was just clicking on all cylinders and things of that nature. And then unfortunately, the very next year we started out 0-6. It just all went to the dump. But again, that's kind of what happened when people go off to go get paid. I
Yep.
mean, it starts into
Apart,
rebuilding.
right? Yeah.
Starts into rebuilding. So yeah, the first Pro Bowl was great. I mean, it's just being able to be there with Troy Polamalu. Who else was there? Champ Bailey. It was just crazy. Just seeing all these guys that you was in college and you heard about and things of that nature. But it was a blessing just to be the opportunity to be able to share the same field with those guys and for them to like talk to you and recognize the things that you was doing and stuff. It was a big accomplishment.
Definitely. Now you mentioned communication with the defense. What's the most important key in a healthy, good defense? Is it communication? Is that the most important thing?
It's like leadership. That's the biggest thing is leadership. And it comes with a lot of times you got to see who's the veteran, who's the leader of the team, of the defense, who is the guys going to come around. It don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a superstar on the team. It could be anybody. But the communication is also the second thing. And it starts in the trenches, you got to have guys up there that's willing to do it. But then, the more that's the biggest thing. If the whole defense is on one accord and they all understand what's going on, then it doesn't matter who. If everybody knows what they got, if everybody knows what's going on, if I know that, he's supposed to be in this gap, but he gets cut out of his gap, but I know how to make him right, man, you're lethal. But if you turn it to a robot and it's like, wow, we all end up in the same gap, but this is the gap I got. It just that throws you off. So that's the biggest thing is communication, understand the defense, understand the ins and the outs. The first year, understand your position, but start looking at when that coaches call plays. Know what everybody else is doing so you can figure out what the weaknesses of the defense. And then the more that you know of each defensive call, the better it is for you because it helps you, especially as a free safety, to line people in the right position and put people in the right positions and the communication and things of that nature. Because if you see a formation and you're thinking of route concepts and things of that nature, you know what the weakness point is. So you know how to cheat it. You know how to say, hey, the ball has to go here or the ball has to go there. And then you start figuring out where to go make your plays at.
Interesting. Yeah, I was, again, especially with what's happening with the Titans and stuff like that, it's always interesting to hear, again, a former defensive player's opinion. I always, again, like you said, like you saw in the back, Bernard Pollard, we had Gerald McGrath. I always ask this question for a defensive mind, and they've gave me, and I think I had someone else, and they gave me kind of the same answer. I always kind of ask this is, who was the toughest QB you went against, and why?
Toughest QB I went against and why?
So your buddy Brian Arakpo answered the same way. Same thing with Bernard Pollard and Gerald McGrath.
Yeah, I'm with you. Man, that's a good one because it's easy to be like, the Tom Brady, yeah, we used to face Peyton Manning every single time.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because it's guys, it's the ones like like Aaron, like the one that really, really, really to me,
Okay.
I would say, I would say big Andrew Luck. You know what? I have to go with
Oh,
Andrew Luck.
yeah.
I have to go with Andrew Luck because he brought so much to the table. He was like a big Ben Roethlisberger
Mm-hmm.
because he wasn't the easiest guy to bring down. He was strong. Big arm, smart. It didn't matter who you put around him. He was
It was
gonna
good.
he can make things happen. I mean, even the year he went to the playoffs, and you're like, who's on your
Who's the team?
team?
Yeah. He
Like,
still made plays. Yeah.
and it's crazy. The same group of guys, and you take him out of that equation, and you're like, okay, this is who we thought the team was gonna be with him.
Yeah.
And so I would have to say Andrew Luck because he was young, it was promising, he was coming into his own. I mean, he doesn't run like Josh Allen, but
Mm-hmm.
he does all the things that Josh Allen does.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he might actually be better with knowing where to go with the ball,
And
but just as tough as him. Because I mean, he'll run, you could tackle him, but then he'll like put his hands up to like help him up, and then he just puts all his weight on you. You're like, dude, this dude ain't no little dude. And you never, I don't think you ever seen him just look puzzled, like he's confused.
yeah.
Like he just has that look, like you don't know like what's going on. Like you don't even know like what he's thinking. Like I don't think anybody has anybody ever had like an interview with him. I ain't never heard nobody interview
No,
him.
man.
Like he's just
He just kind of disappeared, man.
like he's just so nonchalant. So yeah, I would have to say Andrew Luck because it's like, can you get this guy rattled? Can you? I've
Yeah.
never seen him rattled or anything.
Your but yeah, Brian Arakpo said that it was gonna be Peyton Manning. He said you just couldn't. Just Peyton Manning was just another animal. Same thing with Bernard Pollard was the first one he said was Peyton Manning. But again, it depends on the position you play also and what you brought to the table.
Like Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning, but you gotta understand, we saw Peyton Manning twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think Brian Arakpo might have saw him one time with the Colts, maybe with the Broncos.
Okay.
But you know, now the Peyton Manning with Marvin Harrison on one side and Reggie Wayne and Clark, I mean, that right there was a whole nother dynamic. But with the defense, when you had Mathis and what's his name on the outside rushing, like that team there was like legit.
Mm-hmm.
But like Andrew Luck, Andrew Luck didn't have all that. Like
yeah.
he did not have all that.
I think the most he had was T.Y. Hilton. I think that's
he had T.Y. Hilton. I think he had Reggie Wayne, but he had an older Reggie Wayne.
Older. Yeah, he was almost done. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have the in the prime Reggie Wayne. The running back was a revolving door.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had like Trent Richardson and a bunch of other guys. Like he didn't have, you know, everything that Payne had. Yeah, he didn't have all that. Nah. Like
who did you like lining up with? Who was someone that, again, every athlete kind of goes with, you know, going against an opponent that would challenge them, that would make them better. That's what they liked. Who kind of
I gotta go with Antonio Gates. That
Gates?
was like Antonio Gates. Like, dude, he's like, you know, he's a former basketball player. So
Mm-hmm.
the way he used to run his routes, and he'll lure you to sleep, come off the line, and then he just it was like weird. Like it was, but it was like great though. Like he was a tricky guy because you really couldn't tell what he was doing. So I got to go to Antonio Gates.
Antonio Gates. All right. Antonio Gates it is. I mean, again, a great player as well. You after your career with football, you did something with flag football, correct? The Roadrunners.
Yeah. I did the AFFL. Yeah, that was cool, but it was kind of, it is what it is. It was just something to do.
No, but it's cool. I mean, you had Michael Vick was your quarterback, right?
Man, I was kind of chilling and watching this whole game, like, cause it's if you play flag football, you get it. It's a different world. Like you have, it's like you have how you look at it. whoever the best players was that was in
Mhm.
like college or whatever, but didn't want to hit nobody or didn't want to get tackled or whatever it was.
Oh,
Like
you
you
play
got
there?
those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got them. So you're still playing against like the college and the high school players, but it was like they just didn't have that last thing, wherever it was the mindset, get in trouble, other things was more important.
Mhm.
And I mean, we get out there and we out there trying to really play like real football, and these guys they don't even run real plays, man. You just like, what? Wait a minute, like it's
What
just
is?
too much.
Oh, okay.
Like you got to turn the clock off. You got to know the rules. And that's the thing. The pro guys, we don't like you hand it off to turn the clock off, but you can't do this. You know, it was just too much stuff going on, and we thought, hey, just go out there and just go play against like pros versus Joes, and
Mhm. And that
like
was it.
nah. I mean, when you go to play somebody else's sport, you were pretty much the Joe, and they the pros. Like that's theirs. That's their league. That's their game. So it was cool though. It was a real good experience. We got paid for it, so I can't knock
There you go, man.
it. Yeah.
Talking about, like you said, before that, you had that mindset. Your parents taught you that mindset of just, always grinding, keep, motivation, keep going. Once football stopped, right? Once you knew it came to that certain point where you're like, okay, like Brian Arakpo said, Father Time is undefeated. You need, your next step, your next chapter in life. Football is one section of your life. Now the next one. How did you get into the business? And there's one of the questions actually someone had, so I might as well just go. Brad Duff from Twitter wanted to know what led you into a career of baking after football. Any interest of learning something new, or was it more passion? So that's what Brad.
Oh, for me, it was like when I got done playing, it was like I did the coaching intern with the Titans.
Mhm.
And then I got a call from Longhorn Network that was like, hey, we got referred by some other people that, do you want to do some broadcasting? And I was like, I don't know. And they was like, come in for an interview. So I came, I did the little interview. They were like, if you want the job, you got it. So I had that. So while I was actually interning, they called me and was like, hey, you want to we got this job for you. So I'm like, all right, hey guys, gotta go. And then the baking thing, then I went back and finished school. I only had one semester left. So I was in school for 3.5 years. So I went back, finished school, got my degree. But the baking thing was like, it was an idea Rat came up with when we were all sitting around eating some sweets and stuff. And the thing is with the NFL, they got different programs in the summer. They got, I think, coaching programs, which I did the intern.
Okay.
They have broadcasting, sports broadcasting, TV things, which is, of course, you should be able to talk about it if that's all you do is sports. And then they also have business, which you should make enough money to be able to start your business.
Absolutely.
But it kind of still put you in a bubble. And for us, it was, you can go back to school for business, things of that nature, but you still don't understand. It's like the more you do it, the more you understand the things like that. So it was pretty much a hands-on experience. Like, hey, instead of going back to school and get your business degree, let's open up a business. Let's start with let's start with which franchise that already has a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Understand the foundation, and then from there you can piggyback and start doing some other things. So that was the main purpose. Small investment, but it's pretty much like us paying for school. So we pretty much put our money in there, and we learned business. And it was something that we knew that no matter what the world was going through, people were still going to use it. So it was a great idea and something we ran with. And then with the mindset we had is that, we weren't going to fail. So by all costs, by all means, we were going to make sure this place, it was a success. And it's been very successful.
Again, a great place. Again, like I said, when we go to Austin, me and my son, he loves going there. And like I said, we got the T-shirt, we got everything, man. It's some good. That red
Appreciate you.
velvet, that red velvet is no joke. I was never a fan until I had that, and I was like, that ain't no joke, man. It's real good.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So Rod from Twitter wants to know, when did you feel when did you feel like it was time to hang it up?
Oh, for me, I knew, like, as I was getting older, as I started experiencing more injuries, I knew at that moment, like, it's like, okay, the body, like my left, like, yeah, the body is literally, it's just, Like I herniated a disc in my back my last year when I went to Minnesota, I herniated a disc in my back, and then it was like because people know when I played for Tennessee, I played through injuries, torn quad, my knee, my 2 shoulder surgeries, my neck. I mean, my body was jacked up. So, but I played through it. And when I got to Minnesota, I remember just working out one day, herniated a disc in my back. And then it was like, hey, you need surgery. And I was like, well, I could just play through it. But when like in the past, like it just wasn't just. And so I ended up taking injury settlement. I went to Carolina, played 13 games there. But as the season was going and I'm like just fighting through everything, it was like, man, you know what, when this thing is over with. And so when you naturally, mentally, you start thinking about it, there's just no way to turn it on, turn it back off. I mean, it's like any type of like a relationship. Like, I think I want a divorce. As soon as you think that, like,
that's it. Like
there's no going back. There's no going back. You can try to do the whole let's go to marriage counseling and all that. Once that thought is there, you out the door. You just trying to figure out what's the best way to get out the door.
Stalling.
And so, yeah. So my last year in Carolina, it was like, all right, like I'm counting the days down, counting the weeks in, counting the practices in.
Damn.
And it was like, as soon as the season, I mean, I remember like yesterday, we had one more game in Tampa. I packed my whole car, called the shipper, shipped everything back, and was just like sleeping at the facility. Like, yo, when I'm done, I'm out. Like, hey, it's been real. Love y'all, appreciate it, but it's done, man. Like, my body, everything is done. Like, it was just done. It's like, so gotcha. I think that was really when it hit me.
All right. I mean, the body and the mind are different, man. I mean, once those don't work, man, you got to. So you have, I think his name is Sung. So sorry if I messed this up. Sung Yasha wants to know, how are you and Vince Young been since retiring? Have you guys been in contact with each other? And what's your relationship with Vince?
I mean, me and Vince is cool. When we see each other, we mingle and everything else. But, people think because we all went to the same school, like we were supposed to be like buddy or whatever. But and I played defense at the time. We had a lot of Longhorns on the team: Ahmad Hall, Bo Scaife, Vince Young. Like they all played offense. Like, and I was on defense, so I hung out with like Derek Johnson or the Michael Huff, the Cedric Griffin, Terrell Brown, Aaron Ross. Like we were all close. So people wonder like, were we really close when we was at like for Tennessee? And I was like, nah, we wasn't. Like, I know the article came out or whatever came out that the whole thing that happened with Fisher and Vince, everything else, I was the guy that came out. Yeah, I went out to tell him like to chill out or whatever. But I mean, we weren't like hanging out at each other's house. We weren't like, it wasn't like that. So, I mean, we saw each other about 2 weeks ago. We had a drink together, talk, laugh, and everything else, bring up good times or whatever, ask about the kids and everything else. But, I mean, with, text every blue moon, like, we need some, whatever. But it's like, it's a brotherhood, but it's not like every week. It's like not like me and Brian Arakpo or, Jamal Charles or Michael Up, like all of us that lives here locally. So it's a little different.
Yeah, I think everyone just, like you said, like kind of relates. Like, whoa, they were Longhorns. They they had to be like friends and stuff like that. I mean, it's different, like you said.
I mean, you got a team of 85 scholarship players plus the walk-ons, like, and then we're like, it's not to mention. I mean, he was Vince Young. He wasn't hanging out with me. I wasn't nobody at that time. Remember, he hung out. He was hanging out with Steve McNair in college or high school or something. Not me. I was hanging out with the local people. So yeah, it's a little different.
All right, we have Wendy. Wendy wants to know, what is your most memorable play/game as a Titan?
You know what? I would have to say the game that we lost versus Cleveland at home. I think they had Hoyer at the time. I think I had like the most tackles. I had an interception. I had a sack. And I was like, yeah, I'm about to get AFC Defensive Player of the damn week. And then we lost. And I was like, shit, I ain't getting nothing. So, yeah, that might have been the icing on the cake. Yeah, that one. I would go with that one.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of people are going with the Pittsburgh game. There was like that pick six.
Man, that was I mean, that's my only touchdown outside the other ones that got called back. But nah, that one, it's memorable, yes, but that game was just a little bit different. Like that game was like everything was just rolling, and then again we lost at the end, and it just kind of sucked. Yeah, that might have.
Like I said, before we wrap this up again, because you got stuff to do. This kid's making a mess in my garage. He just I ain't yelling at him, so he's going to town on the garage.
Oh yeah, he's like daddy's on the mic. We ain't gonna do nothing. He ain't gonna say nothing.
He knows. But like I said before, watching you play, again, you gave everything you had on the field. It was amazing watching your career and stuff like that. Now, retiring as a Titan, coming back to the Titan organization, how did that make you feel? Especially, getting drafted by the Titans. Is it something where you try to stay, like you said, with loyalty? Like, is it something where you try to stay with that team, the team that drafted you? Or, I mean, like, again, it's business sometimes. And
man, you know what? It is business. It is business, but I would say it was tough to go play for like another team. It really was. Like, I remember like Sean McDermott was our defensive coordinator, and unfortunately the Titans are playing him this coming week, this Monday night. But I remember like it was crazy because we were like, he kept saying like, I remember in the meetings, he kept saying like, the way we talked about routes and route concepts, like I had a different terminology for it, but we were saying the same thing. And I remember he kept saying like, hey, Panther talk, it's Panther talk. Whatever is what we learned it's like what we learned in training camp. And I'm like, looking at him like, hey, coach, all due respect, I don't want to sound like a smart ass, but I wasn't here for training camp. So I apologize. I don't know what Panther talk. I don't even know what the phrase Panther talk even means. And so
is it like tying up? What is that?
Nah, we was in meetings. We were in meetings, and I would be like, hey, yeah, when they run the like the Zampezi or when they run the like NCAA, like I would say different terminology that I was so accustomed to for 9 years of saying. And then when I got there, I'm like, all right, so yeah, when they run this this NCAA route, which is a fast, shallow, a dig, and then a post on the other side, he'd be like, nah, it's called this. Use Panther talk. And I'd be like, okay, well, like, like, cool. If y'all want to give me if you want to like tell me what y'all call the routes and give me a list, I'll study what you say. But right now I'm asking a question and we both know what we're talking about. So
but you trying to use something else, yeah, that's funny.
So he was like Panther talk, and I was like, man, this is like. He's like, it was just different because I don't know, it was just different. So that's like I said, that whole season was like, all right, I'm gonna finish this last year, but when this is over with, like, I mean, and again, Coach McDermott was a great coach, like loved him to death, great guy. It was just like when I said it was just like, man, I'm about to finish the Carolina Panther. Nah, this ain't gonna work out. Like I gotta do something different. Like I don't even got a Carolina Panther. Like I got a Vikings helmet that they like, oh, here you go. I don't know where that is. I don't even know where the Viking jerseys are. I don't know where my Carolina jerseys. Like I don't got that stuff hanging up in my house. Like it's like cool. It was a stop. It was like you start a chapter in a book, but you don't really finish it. Like it was like you start it and then you just scribble it out and cross it out and be like that didn't exist. Like that's how I like kind of like treated like that didn't exist. Like it was cool while it lasted, but it was a blessing. All respect for the Vikings and the Carolina Panthers, but when my back went out, I'm like, dude, I don't even know when this thing will even, like when my back, I don't know how much longer it's gonna take. It's probably gonna take one hit and I'm gonna be out like an old school car that just the gasket and everything just motor blue. I like this gonna end my whole career. So when it was over, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I gotta get off this field. These kids out here, they out here beating up on these old men out here, man. You got young guys like Tyreek Hill just got to leave. I ain't ready for that.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with that.
Nah, too old. I'm too old for that. Too old.
But man, like I said, I want to thank you for coming on the show again. Thank you for your time. Like I said, it's something that's you can't get back. So I do appreciate you talking and sharing some moments. And I loved having you on, man. It's been an honor to watch you on the field. And like I said, what you do off the field and stuff like that, hope your business thrives. Hopefully I get to see you when I go to Austin and get a cupcake. I know you're not in there that much, but I'll hit you. I'll shoot you.
Yeah, just shoot me a message with her. I'll meet you up there.
I got you, brother.
All
But
right.
again, thank you so much, and God bless.
All right. Thank you.